You know that.
Okay. No, I didn't see you swear them in.
I did. I promise you I did.
I'm sorry, I missed that.
Senator Lee?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I've got a list in front of me of the charges for which the default for Rachel Rollins was to not charge. Trespassing, shoplifting, larceny under $250, disorderly conduct, disturbing the peace, receiving stolen property, minor driving offenses, breaking and entering, wanton and malicious destruction of property, threats excluding domestic violence, minor in possession of alcohol, drug possession with intent to distribute, a standalone resisting arrest charge combined with only charges that fall under the list of other charges declining to prosecute. Not all of those are charges that, as to which the failure to bring charges would be a problem in a particular case with particular circumstances. A decision up front not to bring charges when accusations come up like that is a problem. And so your support of this approach is deeply concerning to me. I mean, these are things that in many instances are themselves violent acts. Breaking and entering is a violent act. You've got to break in order to enter, and it's also the type of offense that inevitably, by virtue of the way it's committed, leads to violence. Would you agree with that?
Senator, I absolutely agree that breaking and entering under certain statutes is a violent act and certainly could lead to violence, and I've seen that in my cases as well, sir. Okay,
so that concerns me. Your support of this approach and of Rachel Rollins is deeply concerning to me. It's also concerning to me. I've been looking at this piece you wrote about 3.5 years ago in the New York Times, in which you referred to the fact that you say prosecutorial misconduct taints thousands of cases. I don't see any empirical support for that. Can you give me parameters around that? Are you talking about in the history of time since 1791? Or, talking about in New York, in the entire country? What does that mean? Thousands of cases over what time period and in what jurisdiction?
Thank you, Senator Lee, for that question. The piece that you're referring to, I believe, was an op-ed I wrote for the New York Times about prosecutorial accountability and prosecutorial discipline. I don't remember the specific quotation that you're referring to, but I can tell you that there are some reliable estimates from the National Registry of Exonerations, which is a project of the University of California, Irvine, and the University of Michigan, that has systematically reviewed proven wrongful convictions reversed by the courts that involve prosecutorial misconduct. And so based on that particular study...
But again, over what time and in what jurisdiction? If it's boundless, if you're talking about the entire country, the entire history of the country, I don't doubt that. If you're talking about a specific year and or a particular jurisdiction, I find it troubling that you'd throw that in there without defining it. I assume you would agree with me that it's a bad thing to sow seeds of distrust in the criminal justice system unless you're ready to back them up.
I would agree with that, Senator.
And don't you think that raises that concern if you're saying prosecutorial misconduct taints thousands of cases? You can understand how a reader of the New York Times or any other publication, if they just read that, in context, could think that you mean thousands of cases per year in the state of New York, which, if true, would be a significant thing, and if true, would also be something that you would need to prove or establish. If not true, and people had that impression, what effect do you think that might have on people's respect for law enforcement? Thank
you, Senator. The piece of which you're referring, I think, if I recall correctly, made clear that cases of prosecutorial misconduct are a very small percentage of cases prosecuted nationally. The thousands represent fewer than 1/10% or even less of all the cases prosecuted.
Yeah, but you're assuming that you know the numerator and the denominator. I don't know how you make that claim if you say that they prosecute, what did you say, less than 1/10 of 1% of all instances of prosecutorial misconduct. How do you know that? Your microphone's not on.
Apologies. My apologies. Senator, again, the space constraints in that op-ed did not permit me to list all the sourcing, but I have, there are a number of studies along those lines, and the big picture question that you're asking is, I think, when our system responds to the very small number of cases involving misconduct, it builds trust in the justice system because of the importance of getting it right. And I am proud to have worked with many prosecutors from all political parties and all ideologies who have taken it upon themselves to improve the justice system. In particular, in Senator Cruz's home state of Texas, there was a law passed in the name of one of my former clients to try to make it easier for the wrongly accused to get access to exculpatory evidence because of proven misconduct in that case, and it was unanimously passed by a primarily Republican legislature.
Okay. I don't dispute, and I'm wrapping up, Mr. Chairman, I don't dispute that prosecutorial misconduct is a serious thing, that it happens, that it needs to be taken seriously, that it's unacceptable when it does happen. It does concern me when people throw out broad statements like this without backing them up, without defining them jurisdictionally or temporally. And that coupled with your support of Rachel Rollins and her approach has me very concerned that as a life-tenured Article III judge, if confirmed, you'd be dealing with these cases every day, many times each day. If you take an approach that starts from the default proposition that the system is bad and that a lot of these charges should not even be brought, that's deeply troubling to me. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
We now have in order Senator Blumenthal, Hawley, Padilla, and a message from God. We'll start with Senator Blumenthal.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Morrison, would you begin with a view that prosecutors are bad and their cases are riddled with error as a default position, as Senator Lee has just suggested?
No, Senator, and in fact, I would estimate that about 1/3 to 1/2 of my clients who've been freed through DNA and other evidence would not be free today were it not for